Hi everybody. A while back I got a question on stream from someone who asked me how I paint skin and flesh tones on a miniature. So I thought it was time that I should condense this 30-minute paint job into a watchable video for you guys. A nice smooth skin tone on a miniature is actually one of the more difficult things to achieve. Well, at least for me it is. Yet people ask me how I do it, they ask for my painting process, and they ask how my skins on miniatures look the way they look. The question was asked a while back, and I didn't have any miniatures lying around where I should be painting some flesh tones on. But I just grabbed one of my painter test subjects and stripped part of his arm, and I just went to town and showed everything that I do to paint proper skin tones. That's what I grabbed, just a test mini, and I started off with basing part of his arm with Bugsman Glow. It's a very dark undertone, and I found out that starting out your fleshy adventures on a miniature, it is easier to start off with a darker tone or a darker color and working your way up as you progress in your painting build. As a person who asked me isn't like a new painter, but also not a professional painter, a semi-new painter actually, I decided to explain and use some techniques that are considered not too difficult. They are advanced, but not too difficult to achieve. So I went over with this very beginner technique by just splooching over a shade color all over the arm. The reason why I do it though has kind of a double meaning to it. Next to the fact that a shade creeps into the crevices and highlights the upper or the higher laying areas and creeps into the recesses, so it gives you that high contrast, it also changes the hue or changes the tone of your base color. And we're actually using both of the effects. Depending on the theme that you're going with the flesh tone that you want to achieve, you can use the different shades in your advantage. I chose to go with Druchii Violet because it gives you a very upset and bruised feel to the skin. But if you rather have sickly looking flesh tone, or you want to have a very Mediterranean looking flesh tone, you can go for other shades. For instance, you can use Ashtonian Camo Shade for that really upset and nasty looking sick Nurgle-like flesh tone. After that, I just let the shade dry completely. And believe me, that is really necessary. Patience is virtue in this case. It takes a while until the shade is dry, but as everybody tells you to wait until it's dry, I'm also one of those people that say wait until it's dry. Because nothing is more annoying and more disappointing than being impatient, starting painting, and you notice that your paint is mixing up with the shade and your darker recesses, and you can basically start all over again. So wait until it's dry. So after it was completely dry, it was time for the actual final and long step of achieving the tones or the flesh tones that I wanted to create. And it was actually a mixture of glazing and layering. It's a very basic introduction to glazing, because layering is one of the more beginner techniques. As more people say, that a very easy paint job is base color, shade, and then reapply the base color and call it done. We're doing that little extra step and using glazing instead of layering. So I started off glazing over the higher parts with, again, as I mentioned before, Bugsman Glow. But the paint is very runny and very thin. And that's actually how you build up your colors. You apply layer upon layer of that glaze until you are satisfied with the tone that you get. While I'm doing this, I actually have an extra minute to tell you guys that I am streaming on Twitch every Wednesday and occasionally Sundays, where you just can ask me questions about how I paint stuff, how I do certain things, and we can just chat about it, have a good time. Be sure to check out my Ko-fi page as well. Everything is linked down in the description below, so check it out. Maybe there are some interesting things for you to see. And now let's go back on how I'm doing with the paint job. Once I was happy with the coverage, I started to add a little bit white and Cadian flesh tone into the mix with Bugsman Glow. As I progressed with the glazing and narrowing down my paint area, I started to add more and more Cadian flesh tone and white until I actually was satisfied with how the flesh looks. After that, with some pure white, I added some scars on his forearm and his shoulder. To top it off, I added some blood for the blood god to the edges of his armor and armpits to emphasize the fact that his skin is very brittle and that the armor has been biting into his flesh for a very, very long time. If you enjoyed this condensed paint job and you want to see more of this, be sure to leave a follow on the channel and also leave a like on the video. If you have other ideas on things that I should explain next or show next, leave a comment down below so I can help you guys get better at miniature painting. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.
Like I'm missing out on things.
Oh yeah,
It's the
yeah,
it's the same clip.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
oh yeah, yeah, oh
I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah, oh
No
yeah,
clue actually.
yeah,
Ooh, it's a
oh yeah,
surprise.
yeah,
Nice.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
Nice.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh.
By the way, Joss, there you have my dancing stream. That was it.